Well, welcome again to Full Send Ministries. We are diving into the book of Genesis this month. You know, Genesis means origin or the beginning. And so we thought here at Full Send Ministry that we would talk about the beginning of many things. This week we'll talk about the beginning of life, the world, the existence of all things. Next week we'll talk about the beginning of sin and consequence in this world. Then we'll talk about the beginning of God's promise to His people. And we will end with the beginning of God's guidance on our journey in life. And so the beginning of the world, I know there's a lot of conversation that happens around here, a lot of discussion, maybe in biology class or with your neighbors, about the beginning of the world. And people have different opinions. I'm not going to get into a science versus faith debate today, but I may ask a few questions and point out a few things to get us to think. So let's start with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. God was in the beginning. He has always been. And I know that statement can raise some questions. Well, where did God come from? And that's a great question. And I don't have a good answer. I just believe and have faith, right, that God has always been and will always be. And I would say, no matter what you believe about the beginning of the world, you have to have faith. In our human minds, we want to be able to describe what is the beginning and how did all things happen. But whether you believe the biblical creation story or the Big Bang, there had to be something that was just there. And we can't explain how it got there. We can't explain how it began. So we all had to have faith that it just was and that we can't explain it. And for me, it makes a lot more sense to believe in an intelligent designer. And let me show you his intelligent design and how it all works out for the world as we know it today, thousands of years later. In the beginning, God. God was there. The earth was without form and void. And so He started to create. The first thing He created was light. He created light, and then He created the sky. And then He created the waters and the land. And then the sun, the moon, the stars. And think about the order. Light, air, ground, and sun. You notice He did not create plants or animals before those specific things were in place that we all need. And then he created plants, which needed the heat of the sun and the light, needed the ground to put their roots into, needed the water to grow, and needed the air to breathe. All of those things were put into place before God created all that we see. Plants, and then animals, in the sky, in the sea, and on the ground. And again, every animal has exactly what it needs to exist in each of those areas. Those in the air have wings to fly. Those in the sea have scales and ways to breathe underwater. And those on ground, well, they have lungs and things they need for what's on ground. Everything created with a purpose. And then us, you, me, all of us created. It doesn't matter what ability you have. It doesn't matter what color your skin is or what language you speak. We all began being molded out of the dirt by God. In the beginning, God created. It says that He created man in His own image. In the image of God, He created him, male and female. He created them. Yes, God created man. chapter 2, it talks about him molding us out of the dirt and bending down and breathing his breath of life into our lungs. The air we breathe is God's breath of life. We are created for a purpose. Soon after that, he talks about the purpose of taking care of the land and the animals that he had created. And as I was reading this today, it made me ask the question, how are we doing at following through on our purpose as humanity? How are we caring for our world, the creatures that are in it, the things that God invites us to care for and bless? God created us for a purpose. We also see that God created us for relationship. It says that Adam was alone and that was not good, so he needed to find a partner. And so God from the beginning created us with this need to be in relationship. If you're ever feeling down, if you're ever feeling alone, or that maybe you're not worthy, I want you to remember this, that the God of the universe created you with purpose and with value. And no matter what anybody else says, you will always have that purpose and value to continue to live in this world. So in the beginning, God created all things. A beautiful design that makes a ton of sense in our world today as we see it. He created you with purpose and value to live for him. May we live fully sent for him because he created us to do that.